Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to investigate a word that, we all think we know, the gospel. But what if I told you its original meaning had almost nothing to do with going to heaven and, well, everything to do with a political revolution? That it wasn't some private belief, but a huge, public, world-shattering announcement. Let's dig in and see if maybe, just maybe, we've been missing the point this whole time.
So right now, if I asked you, what is the gospel? What's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, the answer seems pretty simple, almost obvious. It's the core message of Christianity, right? You'd probably say something like, it's about personal salvation. It's how you have a relationship with God. Or maybe it's just your ticket to heaven. And look, for centuries, these answers have really defined the faith for millions. But are they the whole story? Or are they just one piece of a much, much bigger and way more revolutionary picture? To figure that out, we have to go back. Way back. We're going to become linguistic detectives for a few minutes and trace this word gospel back to its roots, long before it was ever even a religious term. And I'm telling you, what we find is pretty surprising.
See, the word gospel didn't just pop out of thin air. It's actually a translation of a really powerful secular word that went on a journey through 3 ancient languages. It started in Hebrew as basar. Then it moved into Aramaic, that's the language Jesus actually spoke, and then it got translated into Greek as Euangelion.
And this is where it gets really interesting. In ancient Israel, the word began not as some spiritual idea, but as a military term, basar. I want you to picture this: a messenger, totally covered in dust, sprinting from a battlefield. He isn't carrying a gentle suggestion. He's carrying news of a decisive, game-over victory. This was physical, it was public, and it was world-altering.
And the content of that news? It was blunt. The battle is won. The usurper is dead. The true king reigns. This wasn't self-help advice. This was a declaration of regime change. It meant new laws, new allegiances, a whole new reality for every single person, and it was effective right now.
So how did a military term end up becoming so revolutionary? Well, by the time Jesus showed up, this word was already packed with political dynamite, and it was setting the stage for a massive conflict of ideas. Just look at this comparison. The first century gospel was a public announcement about a regime change. It demanded that you change who you pledge allegiance to, and it totally reordered reality. The modern gospel, on the other hand, often feels a lot softer. It's a private spiritual message mostly focused on the afterlife. The meaning hasn't just drifted a little, it has been fundamentally transformed. So this all leads us to the really crucial question. How did Jesus himself use this word? Did he go with that softer, modern meaning we know, or did he intentionally grab its original royal political meaning? Well, if we just look at what he actually said, the answer is crystal clear.
These are some of the very first words Jesus speaks in Mark's account, and notice the direct link he makes. He tells people to believe the gospel because the kingdom of God is here. The good news is the arrival of the new kingdom. They're one and the same.
And right here, he spells out his mission statement. He says his primary purpose wasn't to start a new religion or to offer a cool new philosophy. No, it was to preach, to announce the kingdom of God. This, he says, is the entire reason he was sent.
And then what does he do? He sends his followers out with the exact same message. He doesn't tell them to go share a 5-step plan for salvation. He tells them to go make the royal announcement. The kingdom is here. Okay, so this inevitably leads to a huge collision course, because in the first century, there was another king, another empire, that was already using this exact same word for its own good news.
By Jesus' time, the Roman Empire had totally co-opted the Greek word Euangelion for its own propaganda. The birth of a new Caesar, a big military victory, that was all declared as good news, or Euangelion, for the world. So when Jesus comes along, using that same word to announce a different king and a different kingdom, well, that's not a religious statement. That is a direct, subversive, political challenge to Caesar's authority.
And just to be super clear, this wasn't about choosing a political party, like left versus right. This was something way more fundamental. It was a declaration of allegiance. Who is the true king of the world? Is it Caesar in Rome, or is it Jesus of Nazareth? You had to pick a side.
So this raises a massive question. If the original gospel was this revolutionary, this public, and this political, what on earth happened to it? How did it shrink down into this private belief about going to heaven when you die?
Well, according to the scholar N.T. Wright, Over many centuries, the church itself, it kind of started to screen out this core message. It kept talking about Jesus, for sure, but somehow it forgot the very thing Jesus himself spent most of his time talking about, the inauguration of God's kingdom right here on earth.
Now, this didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, gradual downsizing. In the 4th century, when Christianity became the official state religion of Rome, suddenly talking about a different kingdom got, well, politically dangerous. A century later, major church councils shifted the focus away from Jesus' mission and onto abstract definitions of his divinity. And by the Middle Ages, this huge split had happened, separating the social change of the kingdom from the personal salvation of the cross. The message had fundamentally shrunk.
Okay, so what's the point of digging all this up? Why does this ancient linguistic trip matter to us today? Because, and this is the key, recovering the original meaning of the gospel, it changes absolutely everything.
So here's the big takeaway. If the gospel is a kingdom announcement, everything gets reframed. Salvation is no longer about escaping this world, it's about God restoring it. Resurrection isn't just about our souls going to heaven, it's about God's new creation launching right here on earth. Faith stops being a private hobby and becomes a public allegiance to a new king. And the cross? The cross is the throne where that king won the decisive victory.
So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. What changes for you, personally, if the gospel isn't just good advice, but is, in fact, good news? A royal announcement that a new king has taken charge of the world.
Because in the end, the original message was never just a ticket out of this world. It was, and it still is, the announcement of a revolution, of reality itself.